Hello guys, I'm back with a quick reaction video to the news that Dean Holden has been announced as the new permanent Bristol City manager. What does this mean for the club? What direction are they going in? And what on earth happened to Chris Hughton? Let's get into it. So after 37 long days for Bristol City fans since Lee Johnson left the club, they finally appointed his successor, and it turned out to be the assistant manager, Dean Holden, given his first job in charge in the Championship. He'll be leading Bristol City next season. Let me know in the comments down below, Bristol City fans, exactly what you think of this appointment, given some of the names you were linked with. It seems like a lot of you are disappointed with this appointment, but it's a big job for Dean Holden to take on. He took the weekend to think about it and has now been announced by the club that he will be leading the club in the Championship next season. Let's not forget Dean Holden managed the last 5 games of the current season with Bristol City. He won 2 of them, he drew 2 of them, and he lost 1 of them. Not too bad, but he's never been a first team manager before, apart from a really short spell at Holden, which didn't go too well. But now he's been given the realm of a first team Championship club. He's going to be thrown in at the deep end. As we saw with a few other managers, it can work. I'll come on to that, but this is a big risk for Steve Lansdown and the board to take. They've promoted from within. It's good to see, but it's a risk. The last few weeks, I think, have been more about appointing his backroom staff and trying to tempt them to the club. If you look at some of the big names he's just brought in alongside him, the likes of Keith Downs at England from the England setup. He won the under-19 European Championships with England just a couple of years ago, and Paul Simpson, he won the under-20 World Cup in the same year. So they're big caliber names, they're big caliber coaches coming into the club to help out. So I don't think the wait was to appoint Holden in particular. I think they could have done that very quickly, but it was more about getting his backroom staff in place. Let me know what your thoughts are on this appointment down below. Bit of a shock really, but promoting from within. Now this is something we've seen quite a lot in the Championship, especially this season. Scott Parker, let's start with him. He came down with Fulham, got them straight back up. So there's a good promising sign for Bristol City. Obviously they had parachute payments, and it's quite a different job, Fulham to Bristol City. Jason Tindall, that's the most recent one at Bournemouth. Many people thought they'd go for a big name after Eddie Howe's departure. They didn't. They've gone for the assistant manager, just like Bristol City have here. So we've seen it work. The likes of Carlos Cabral at Huddersfield, coming from Leeds, another inexperienced first team manager being given a chance in the Championship next season. It's going to be so difficult to predict and so difficult to guess what these managers are going to be like at the very first time. And I mentioned him already, Steve Cooper at Swansea, a great success from the England youth setup, getting given the chance at a Championship club and reaching the playoffs, exceeding expectations there. So it's really worked. Obviously other Championship clubs are going the other way. Recently, Ita Karanka was appointed by Birmingham, and that's your more traditional, if you like, Championship club appointment, an experienced manager who's been promoted. That's what Bristol City wanted to see come into their club. I think the fans, at least, they wanted Chris Hughton, and let's get on to him. What on earth happened to Chris Hughton? He was odds on to take the job. He was odds on at the start. He was odds on and in the running throughout the process. He only got out to about 3-1, which isn't very long at all. So it always seemed likely Chris Hughton was the man to take over at Ashton Gate. But now, as we see, Dean Holden is the man in at Bristol City. And I think if the board knew it was going to be the assistant manager taking over from the very start, it would have been a quicker process. The odds wouldn't have changed too much, but this was absolutely baffling. Remember, Ryan Lowe was favourite at one point as well, but Chris Hughton was always in the running, and it didn't help that the likes of TalkSport and even Sky Sports reported that he'd got the job, or he'd been linked with the job, or he'd even been offered the job. All 3 of those reports have come out at various times, but you can see why it's an amazing job. It's an amazing Championship club, nice and stable, good amount of money Lansdown's got if he needs to invest it. They're sensible with their transfers, they make money, they've got a good fan base, it's in a great catchment area. I mean, he might have been too expensive, perhaps that was the stumbling block, but I'm not too sure. Any club for me in the Championship should be going for Chris Hughton, and at the moment he's still out of a job. It's baffling to me. I was sure he'd have a job just a couple of months ago. I made the video who would be the next Bristol City manager where I gave my thoughts when Lee Johnson was sacked, and I said it's got to be Chris Hughton for me. As it turns out, they've gone for Holden. Would you have preferred Chris Hughton or Dean Holden? Let me know in the comments down below. So let's finish with what Holden can bring to the job. Obviously, continuity. He knows what the players are about. He knows their strengths and weaknesses. He's got relationships with them already, good or bad. Obviously, promoting from within, not rock the boat or anything. It won't be a big shock to the players. But what can he build on from Lee Johnson? Obviously, Lee Johnson left some good foundations for him to take over at, and he'll say he'll bring his own style. I'm not sure how much he'll vary from what Lee Johnson did, to be honest. It's hard to say without watching any games or him being given a chance, to be honest. every manager comes in and says they're going to put their own stamp on things, but I'm not sure with Holden whether he'll change the progress Lee Johnson was making too much. He was definitely a cheap appointment, I think, cheaper than Hughton, cheaper than the likes of Mick McCarthy, one of the experienced managers who was mentioned. So that's a positive for Bristol City. Made a good saving in that regard. But onto the negatives. I mean, is it a backward step for Bristol City? Is it too harsh to say that? I think the coaches they've brought in have been good, but as a first-team manager, he's got no experience. Is he even less qualified than Lee Johnson was, the man they sacked when he was sacked like a month ago? I think it could be viewed as a backward step for Bristol City. I'm not sure how the fans are going to view this, but for positives for Bristol City and Dean Holden going in there. An amazing squad for the Championship, a really good, strong squad. The likes of Liam Walsh coming back on loan, Thomas Callis, Jada Silva, Andre Vyman, Nicholas Ellison. Amazing, young, entertaining squad, vibrant players. Obviously, you've got the 19-year-old Masengo, I think it is. He could step up to the first team. He cost a few million quid, didn't he? Clearly a classy, decent squad for the Championship. I'm not sure what will be viewed as success for Holden next season, actually. I think they should be pushing for the playoffs. I think that's where Bristol City should be. I think that's where they would have been under Lee Johnson for sure if he'd have been given another year in charge. But I'm not sure any manager could come in and do a great job. We'll have to see how Holden gets on. Let me know in the comments down below what your expectations should be for Bristol City, what your prediction will be next season now they've appointed Holden, and who they should have appointed more importantly. Will he have the experience? Will he bring a brilliant playing style like Steve Cooper did at Swansea? How will Tyndall get on? Bournemouth will be a good comparison, I think, for Holden at Bristol City. We'll see how those two clubs get on next season. But for now, I've just reacted to the news that Dean Holden is the new Bristol City manager. Let me know your thoughts and like and subscribe as always. But for now, guys, I'll see you on the next one.